Hey guys, tonight we slip quietly into a field you've probably never pictured before. A flat stretch of grass near a slow, unbothered river where the future of Europe once held its breath without realizing it. You're standing there in the present tense, dew soaking into your shoes, the sky pale and undecided, and everything feels strangely ordinary for a moment that will echo for 1,000 years. This is one of those nights where history doesn't shout, it whispers, and you lean closer because you're not entirely sure you're supposed to be hearing this at all. And just to be honest with you, you probably won't survive this in the sense that your neat, simple idea of how Europe formed is about to fall asleep forever. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're settling in, drop a comment telling everyone where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself in the year 955, near a place called Lechfeld, not far from modern-day Augsburg. The name doesn't mean much yet, and that's kind of the point. This isn't Rome, or Constantinople, or some marble-heavy city with dramatic speeches. It's a wide, open floodplain, the sort of place armies pass through without a second thought. You can almost smell wet grass and horse sweat, a scent that sticks to the back of your throat. Somewhere nearby, birds scatter as thousands of hooves shift their weight. On one side, you have the East Frankish army under Otto I, later known, casually, no big deal, as Otto the Great. On the other, the Magyars, nomadic raiders who've been terrifying Europe for decades, riding in fast, striking hard, and vanishing like a bad memory you can't quite shake. Here's the mainstream historical fact you need to anchor yourself. This battle marks the decisive end of the Magyar raids into Western Europe. Before this day, towns from Italy to Germany live in a constant low-grade panic, never sure if next week brings another lightning attack. After this day, that fear begins to fade. You don't notice it immediately, of course. No one on the field thinks, "Ah yes, Europe is now stable." They're mostly thinking about staying alive and whether their knees are supposed to shake this much. You're standing behind Otto's lines now, feeling the tension ripple through armoured men who aren't used to chasing enemies this fast. The Magyars have always relied on speed and fear, but something feels different today. The ground is heavy from recent rain, not ideal for nimble horse archers. Historians still argue whether this terrain alone shifted the balance, or whether Otto's tighter discipline and willingness to force close combat was the real deciding factor. Either way, the Magyars can't simply ride away this time. You sense it in the air, like the pause before a deep breath. A quirky tidbit drifts in as you wait. Medieval chroniclers claim prayers and religious relics were marched right alongside the soldiers, as if heaven itself had been drafted into the ranks. Otto supposedly frames the battle as divine judgment, which, honestly, is a convenient morale booster when you're staring down experienced raiders. Think of it as the 10th century equivalent of a motivational playlist. Less electric guitar, more saints' bones. When the fighting begins, it's messy, but not cinematic in the way movies love. No soaring music, no perfectly timed speeches, just noise, confusion, and the realization that running is no longer an option. You feel the hours stretch, the sun climbing higher, armor heating up like an unwanted blanket. Slowly, almost reluctantly, the Magyars break. It's not just a retreat, it's a psychological collapse. For the first time in generations, their reputation for invincibility cracks in full view of Europe. And here's where the future quietly changes while nobody's watching. With the Magyar threat contained, Otto consolidates power, eventually becoming Holy Roman Emperor. The eastern borders stabilize, Settlements grow without expecting to burn every few years. Castles shift from emergency shelters to symbols of control. This is not flashy history, it's infrastructure history, the kind that decides how generations sleep at night. Historians still argue whether Europe's later political fragmentation would have been possible at all without this moment of relative security. There's even a strange after-echo to this battle. Within decades, the Magyars themselves begin to settle, converting to Christianity and forming the Kingdom of Hungary. The raiders become neighbours. The nightmare turns into a map label. That transformation alone feels like a plot twist written by someone who really enjoys irony. Now let your breathing slow as the field empties. The shouting fades, replaced by wind moving through trampled grass. You step back from the moment, aware that most people will never hear about Lechfeld, yet they live inside its consequences every day. Borders, languages, the idea that Europe is a place where farms can last longer than a single lifetime. Funny how something so quiet ends up so permanent. It's almost rude. As we wind down, the scene softens. The grass grows back. The river resumes its lazy curve. Generations pass without knowing why they're safer, only that they are. You don't need to hold on to the names or dates anymore. Just keep the feeling. History doesn't always roar. Sometimes it sighs, turns over, and changes everything while you're not looking. Let that thought loosen its grip as your mind drifts, as the sounds blur into something gentle and distant, and the idea of tomorrow feels unimportant in the best possible way.